Good evening, everybody, from city to city to state. Welcome to the Poppy Show with yours truly in studio tops 5280 in the Mile City of Colorado. What do we have rolling down the mountain tonight? We have Metro State Ladies Basketball Mentorship. We have Patsy Mundell, the Poppy Show, talking about the girls' basketball and her mentorship. Patsy Mundell, welcome to the Poppy Show.
Thank you so much, Poppy. Thanks for having me.
Certainly. We're going to talk about your mentorship, the basketball program at Metro State. Patsy was an alumni basketball player and a graduate at Metro State. Patsy, what age did you start playing basketball?
I started playing basketball in 5th grade for my little Catholic grade school. And I also played softball at Metro, so I played basketball and softball at Metro.
Yes.
And helped sort of with both programs. But yeah, I started playing in 5th grade.
Okay. The dual-ship athlete, huh?
When you could do it back then, yes.
Yes, that is true. Nowadays, things are a little different. So
Very much so.
Yeah, exactly. So I know you love the sport of basketball and softball. What made you want to play college basketball?
Well, actually, mine was out of necessity. My senior year of high school, I realized, my gosh, I'm graduating and I have to go do something. And working for the rest of my life at that point in time at 18 just didn't sound thrilling to me. So I looked into attending Metro and applied at Metro State at the time. Now it's Metro State University of Denver.
Mm-hmm.
I applied there. I was accepted and then realized I had to pay the tuition. And even back then, the tuition wasn't crazy, but it certainly was for somebody back then. And I knew my parents couldn't pay for me. So I met with the basketball coach and asked if I could walk on and try out. And she said yes, and it worked out. I walked on my freshman year, and she ended up about 6 games in. I ended up getting a scholarship. And really,
Wonderful.
That's what helped me to stay in school.
Okay, and you went to high school in Denver, correct?
Yes, Central
What
Catholic.
high school did you go to?
Central Catholic High School, downtown Denver.
And now that is defunct, correct?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a
Yeah, a parking lot, or I was going to say probably condo, the way Denver is building.
Yes, a little of both.
A little bit of both. After you did play your 4 years and graduate, did you want to coach?
I did. My major when I started out freshman year was teaching. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a teacher so that I could coach. But back then, you're talking late 70s, early 80s, the teaching field was pretty tough back then. So I ended up changing my major my sophomore year and then majored in criminal justice, public safety, law enforcement with a minor in sociology. And so the tables kind of turned. But I somewhat coached and mentored all that time during my career too. So I got a little bit of both.
Did you coach grade school?
I did. I coached. I started out reffing, as a matter of fact, as in the Catholic School League. And I CASAL is what it was called. And I started reffing when I was in college, as a matter of fact, just to earn some extra money because we were student athletes, but we were working student athletes with scholarships. So I reffed and got paid for that. And then for whatever crazy reason, I went from a paid position reffing to a volunteer coaching.
Oh, but there you go. Wait a minute here.
Yeah, I kind of went backwards, but I enjoy it much more. But I ended up coaching in the CASAL League for a little over 20 years.
Good for you. And CASAL, can you explain what CASAL was?
CASAL is the Catholic School Athletic League, so all of the Catholic schools in the metro area and is a league of their own, and so that's who I coached for. So my son's school, I've coached nieces and nephews and family friends, etc.
Okay. Do you miss it?
A lot. I do miss it. I just did it again. I hadn't done it for probably 6 years, and I just coached at Good Shepherd. My goddaughter, I coached her team last year along with her dad and in the CASAL League. It was a lot of fun. Excuse me.
What inspired you to get started at Metro? I know you had to walk on and try to pay your bills, but what inspired you to do that? What made that go for you?
Well, I think, like I said, it was a necessity to, if I wanted to stay in school, I had to figure out a way how to pay for it. And then I always loved sports. And so I was very fortunate that they gave me the opportunity to be a student athlete and of course, still work a little bit too. And I got to stay home. Again, it was late 70s. My dad assumed that I was probably just going to get married and have children out of high school. So he never really told me a lot about going to college, and neither did my mom really. And so it was just something, I investigated on my own because, again, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I just knew that I wanted to do something and knew I needed the education to do that. So I was fortunate, like I said, to be able to get a scholarship in basketball and softball. So it helped pay for all of my schooling.
What profession did you go into if you didn't go into teaching? And
Law enforcement. So I was in law enforcement for 37 years. So coaching was an outlet for me, a positive outlet. Those kids liked to see me when I showed up. Law enforcement's a bad news business and we see people at their worst. So a lot of times people didn't enjoy seeing me, whereas I always knew my coaching, those kids were happy to see me. So it was therapeutic, really.
oh, I'm sure it was. Just to get away from, well, the daily grind, hustle and bustle, being a police officer. You mentioned mentorship. You got involved at Metro State mentorship. What directed you towards?
I was actually a division chief in our detention facility at the time when I received a phone call from the newly hired Metro State coach, basketball coach. And as it ended up, her name is Tanya Have. She's still there today. So this was in 2012, and she's still coaching for them today. Tanya Have went to Evergreen High School and graduated in 1980. I went to Central Catholic and graduated in 1980. So we played against each other. I went to Metro State, and she went to the University of Tennessee and played for Pat Summitt.
Ah, okay.
A little difference
Just
than mine. But so they had a mentoring program at Tennessee, and so she wanted to bring that here to Metro. So she was reaching out to alumni and asking for them to be involved. And of course I said, yep. I met her for lunch, and I was hooked from that moment. Involved with them since 2012.
Okay. Now, do you mentor one girl, two girl, three girl? How does that happen?
One girl at a time. And they're all freshmen. So there's probably about 6 to 8 mentors at a year, and we each get a freshman. The coach always tries to team us up with students that are in our field that might help them, get a foot in the door and what they have to look forward. So I was always involved with kids or students that were in criminal justice or some type of law enforcement. And so you just have the one girl for the freshman year.
And then you get another freshman the next year, and that
the next
just
year,
changes.
Yeah, and then they were normally from either out of state or out of the area. Nobody from the metro area. The purpose was to have them have an outlet or an advocate for them that's close, where parents aren't available, friends aren't available. So that's the purpose of.
Your gals, have they all stayed the 4 years to play basketball, or has some dropped off?
Yeah, some have dropped off. So there have been a handful that stayed for the 4 years, but there's also a handful that stayed freshman, sophomore year. And, again, you're looking at 18 and 19-year-old girls who either they really missed home and maybe they were the star where they were playing in high school. College is very different. You're not always the star, and you have to, bide your time, learn the system. And so sometimes they get frustrated or they miss home and they go home. So but I will say, even the ones, there's a handful of them, but even the ones that have gone, I've still stayed in touch still all these years via Facebook and via Instagram, etc. Most of them I'm still in touch with.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the farthest state that one of your mentors has been from?
Texas. Small town in Texas. Yeah. I've had Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and then a lot around, Pueblo, Walsenburg, way up north, Frederick, Firestone, etc.
From the roster that the coach builds, does she pretty much just stay in the region, or does she go West Coast, East Coast, try to go up north?
Yeah, they pretty much recruit from all over. So if you look at their roster, they have kids from all over the area. They have kids from Australia. Yeah, they're from all over. It's especially now Denver is an up and coming city, and it's now a university, which makes it a little bit different. They have more money to recruit. They have more money for scholarship programs, which makes a difference if you're going to try to get players to come here, because it's not cheap to live here either.
No. And downtown's beautiful. That's a gorgeous campus anymore.
It really is. So there's a lot of, they get them from all over the place.
And how long has the head coach been the coach at Metro?
11 or 12. Yeah, she's been there a while. Yep, she's always wanted to come back home, so she's happy to be here in Colorado.
So that mentorship, shouldn't say guaranteed every year, but does she expect you to come back every year?
They reach out every year. Now, unfortunately, since 2020, everything has changed, right? And it's been hard to get that program back up and running. So the mentoring program is not as big as it was when I started in 12 up until 2020. But I'm still involved with it because I want to be. So the coach still includes me. I get to be an honorary coach, one game every year. My husband and I go to a lot of the games. We just took my 2-year-old granddaughter to her first game last Saturday. And we play in their golf tournaments. And so I still do the mentoring just because I stay involved. And Tanya knows all she has to do is give me a call. We go to their a dinner where they do for their scholarships and their fundraisers, and she invites us every year to attend those. So I'm really involved in that. And then I also financially support the softball program, Coach Annie, who is wonderful. And I kind of do the same thing for them, just not as regimented as I do for basketball. Is really my passion.
Wonderful. That's great.
Yeah.
You did mention you have 6 other mentors, and since COVID happened, does she carry the same 6, or
No.
has that dropped off as well?
Yeah, some of that has dropped off, and because a lot of them, 2 of them were actually people I played basketball with, so it was fun to run into
Nate.
that I hadn't seen for a long time. But they too were in law enforcement, and they've retired and have moved out of the state, so it makes it a little bit more difficult. And just the atmosphere, the culture, everything's changed a little bit, so it's a little bit different than it was back then. But like I said, I choose to stay involved, so she appreciates it and allows me to do that, which is great.
Do you see yourself continuing down the path, or it could be time to let it go?
No, I will continue. I did it working way 40 plus hours a week, and I still found time because, again, it was therapeutic, coaching, mentoring, and so it was good for me to see the positive sides of life and positive people, and then be able to share some of my experiences as well. No, I have more time now, so we go to more of the games now because I'm more available. I'll probably become more involved with the softball program now. I haven't seen it yet, but I have an engraved seat at the stadium there. So at the Regency Athletic Complex, where baseball, softball, soccer, lacrosse, tennis, they have their own complex. It's incredible. It's absolutely beautiful. And so I have an engraved seat there at the softball field. And so this year they engraved one for my granddaughter. So we have to get to a game this year so I can see her take a little picture of her standing next to her seat. Maybe
to her seat. Okay, Izzy. Yeah.
That's
in
right.
Her ball cap and her jersey and all that good stuff, right? Yes. Yep. And we will have you on again once softball season. Well, softball season has kicked off because it was on ESPN this
Yes.
past weekend. So
Yep.
I do know that it's already in season, even though outside we're 20 degrees.
Exactly.
And
Yeah, they're not playing here right now. They're trapped.
yes, you're right. So what is your biggest challenge in the mentorship program?
I think earlier on it was just the time, finding the time. Right now it's finding, incoming freshman students that feel like they need a mentor. Some of them feel like they don't need that. And so there's a little bit of some entitlement, and I get to see it a little bit because, like I said, when she invites me once a year to be the honorary coach, she allows me to do everything. I get to do the pep talk before the game. I get to read the stats at halftime. And so you get a chance to kind of see the attitudes, and it's really, really different today
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
than it was. And so, but I mean, I still enjoy it. And so no, I won't, now maybe if she were to retire and I didn't have that connection with the coach, it might change the dynamics a little bit, but I'll still support them because I mean, they gave me the opportunity. I really do feel that's why I do it with Metro, is they really gave me the opportunity to have a career that was just incredible, and be able to retire at 60 and be comfortable. And I know I had to do the work and everything, but Metro gave me the opportunity and the tools to help me get there. So I owe.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What was the most gratifying and most memorable? Do you have one or two that stand out?
One for sure. Well, two. We've been invited to their graduations. We've been invited to a couple weddings. They send me pictures of their kids, and those are incredible relationships. One in particular, my very first one, Michaela Mathis, she was my very first one up in Firestone. And her dedication and commitment to basketball, she would take a bus. She would drive to 120th and Broomfield from her house, her Firestone home, and then take a bus every day at 6 a.m. to get to workouts for basketball and stay all day. And I mean, just a lot. And we used to meet her for dinner a lot. That's really my job as the mentor. I don't talk about basketball. I'm really there to help guide them through adulthood, which again, you're dealing with 18 and 19-year-old girls that go through everything we all did, and stressors and everything. So, but she's a great gal. We went to her graduation. Her parents were wonderful. She used to call me and we would meet up in Firestone for lunch. And then my son was also a freshman at Greeley in UNC. And so we would always bring Matt down, and she would always talk to Matt. She was a couple years older than Matt. She would talk to Matt about what to expect, because I stayed in touch with her no matter what. So I didn't just mentor her freshman year. I stayed in touch with her the whole 4 years she was there. And we were invited to her graduation. She ends up, she met her boyfriend there. He joined the Marines. He was stationed in San Diego, and they moved. And so she would still stay in touch with me. And then one day I get this text with a photo of her, and she joined the Navy. And so with her education, she's now a naval officer.
Wow.
So she went through all the training, sent me a great photo of her in her naval officer uniform. And I was just shocked and humbled. But she sent me a very, very nice message. Not only from her, the one that hit me the most was her mother sent me a message and said, please understand that the reason she went into the Naval Academy was because of you. Everything you taught her about what you went through, and something about uniformed and leadership and giving back to the community. And when I went to the FBI National Academy, of course, I was mentoring her at that time. And so I just thought for her mom, and this was maybe 6-7 years ago.
Yeah, I was just going to ask how long ago that was.
Yeah, it was about 6 years ago. And so it was right when I made, so it's probably longer than that, time flies, but when I became the undersheriff at my agency, they sent me flowers. And I mean, so just stuff like that, you just, oh my gosh, this is a family I met for 4 years.
Sure, yeah.
But still, and another one is a business owner in New Mexico, and she sends me Christmas cards of her daughter and her husband, and we were invited to their wedding. And I mean, it's just, to me, that is just, and they're successful, so that's gratifying to me.
Yeah. And obviously you do a wonderful job and they succeed and move on and
I
live their
appreciate
life, but
Yeah,
you're a part of it. So
yeah,
very special.
yep, yep.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
Yes. And like you said, you've been a mentor for 13 years
Mhm.
and continuing to move on,
Yep,
which Metro should be very grateful for what you do for their
yep,
program and the head coach as well.
yep.
Would you recommend it to others to be a mentor for these girls?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would say, it's not just, Metro Women's. There is so many mentorship programs all over the place that
Mhm.
people can get involved with. And, it's just it's a supportive relationship between you as the adult and a young individual. And you're there to help them, guide them, inspire them to reach their potential. And some of them don't have that at home. So it really is incumbent that people that want to do that, it is so gratifying. And they say they've done studies on it, mentoring and volunteering. It's healthy because it helps you to be healthier. It helps your well-being. It helps your own stress. And I can attest to that because, like I say, it was therapeutic for me in the field I was in to not be so cynical, because in law enforcement, you can get very cynical. And my outside life of that job was really that kept me the most grounded of these are good individuals. And these young women I'm meeting through these programs and watching them grow and the jobs, one's a veterinarian, a business owner, Navy. These are very, very talented young women and strong women and now mothers. And so I would say absolutely. I would tell anybody it's really a great opportunity. It's a great job. It makes you feel really, really good.
Because years ago, we never had mentorship. You were
No,
basically on your own and you're fed to the wolves and do what you got to do and good luck.
yes, that's exactly right. I mean, it was when I started college, it was figure out how to apply. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
I didn't know how to do any of that, so it helped when my kids, because then I could help them do theirs. And that's really what it is with this mentoring is you have that we all have experience, institutional knowledge of a lot of things.
Yeah.
And we should be wanting to share that and any way we can. And that's how I look at it, is helping them not make the same mistakes that we all make it a little bit easier for them. And then if they take it, great. If they don't, you know, as long as you communicate with them, you make it clear what you're really there for. You're not there for you're just there for stability for them.
Guide them, lead them, and they could go
And then
wherever
they
they want
go.
to go. Yeah, exactly.
It's like raising your children. That's exactly
That is so
it.
true. So, what would you like for our listeners today to take away from this show? What would you like?
Excuse me. Well, I think what I would like to say is a little bit about getting involved. There are so many communities that are asking for help. If it's just to go into a school and read a book, there's just so many things. I mean, I've been taking my granddaughter to the library on toddler time, and most of the people in there are grandparents like myself. So these are working families they don't, you have to. I mean, both parents have to work. They don't have a choice. So if you could go in, and the lady that runs the library, she's a volunteer there. And so we start them out obviously young, but there's so many places you could look at and go to where you can impart your own experiences and knowledge. And it really does make you feel much better. Just the small things. We volunteer a little bit at my parents' memory care center and take them to the Rockies games. And I have the ability to do that because I'm retired. I did a lot of volunteering when I was still working, but the real fun stuff where I can spend a day with them is what I do now. And so, yeah, I would say to listeners, look in your local area, your local communities. There is something you can do that will make you feel so much better if you can just be a part of someone's life and help them outside of their family, because sometimes they don't want the family to know.
Yes.
So that was always I was the go-between between these athletes, student or their parents, and then. And it always made the parents comfortable to know they could call me because they couldn't get a hold of her, or she's going through a crisis, girlfriend, boyfriend, breakup, whatever it is. And it was comforting for them to be able to make a phone call and, would you check on her? Yep, we'll check on her. So I'd go down and have dinner with them and check, just make sure that they're okay. But there's a lot of things that people could volunteer and mentor. And I tell you, and as I've been retired now, and you're out of the, boots on the ground and the stress and of being, I was an executive level when I retired and had been for 15 years. So when you walk away, you're really nothing. So you're just now. And so you think to yourself, wow, I still have a lot to offer. I have value. I just had to find what my value and worth was. But you still have a lot to share with people, and experiences and life experiences. And it's a shame to spend all that time and all that knowledge and waste it on yourself. Sure. And so I would encourage people to continue to look at those things and really take volunteerism, mentorship, however you want to do it, very seriously. It's very gratifying. You got to be committed.
Before I let you go, what's your final thought for our listeners?
I think being open-minded that other people are having experiences of other than your own. Yes. And I think that's another thing that I find out is when I get to know them and you personalize it, and you find out that they're going through a lot more struggles than you are. And
good,
so
bad, and ugly, definitely.
Yes, when I would be feeling sorry for myself and think it was, everybody should care about me, they usually would put my life back in perspective.
Yes, exactly. And Poppy needs to do that too.
Well, don't we all?
Yes, we do.
We all need mentorship.
I appreciate you coming on the show and talking all about your mentorship program and what you have built at Metro State. And I'm going to say that you have built it because you are asked to come back every single year. So obviously you're doing something right for the girls program, and the coach continues to reach out to Patsy Mundell to be the mentor of the women's basketball program. Thank you for telling us your experience, and we wish you the best. But before we let you go, it's the shout out. It's the Poppy shout out. We are going to shout out to women's basketball and mentorship for all those mentors who are out there doing what they do and guiding these women, guiding men. There's women mentors into males as well. That is Poppy shout out. Keep going strong. Like Patsy did say, go find somewhere that needs guidance. Volunteer your time. You will help these men, women, boys, girls succeed in what they want to do. So that is Poppy shout out. Patsy, thank you for coming on the Poppy Show. I enjoyed it sincerely.
Yes.
We're going to have you back here in a couple more weeks, right before the March Madness comes on for the women's basketball. We're right around the corner for that.
Yeah, we are.
February came, and February is on its way out the door, and now March. So,
yes. March Madness.
March Madness at its finest, correct?
Yep. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, we know what this is. Poppy has to go. We're so glad to have all you Poppy listeners listening tonight. We especially welcome the lovely people who have chosen to be here in Pop's Studio 5280. Poppy sincerely hope you enjoyed the show. Remember, be good to yourself. Be good to others. Poppy needs you. Poppy loves you. Good night. Good night, Patsy Mundell. Thank you for everything you do.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Poppy.
Good night.
Good night.